Shalom, WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in synagogue, we'll be reading Parshat Tavo, coming towards the end of Moshe's great oratory that is the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. And here, towards the end, he comes to the topic of blessing. Now, he doesn't use the term blessing, although the Torah knows that term. But from it, we learn something very important about blessings, about the things that we share and how we share them. Anyone who knows me knows what an important topic this is to me, and I love this indirect learning about blessing from this parsha. It's so important of what it means to be a Jewish person. We are a people of blessing, and exactly why we give blessings and what we get from giving blessings. So there are two famous formulas that Moshe shares in the Torah portion. One we find in the Haggadah. When we bring our first fruits, there's a little retelling of the Exodus story that begins, Arami Oved Avi. My father was pursued by an Aramean, or my father was a wandering Aramean. But there's another formula with which you might be a little less familiar. It's for when we bring the second tithes, right? We know the first tithes were to go to the Kohen, the priesthood. The second tithes went to one of four groups of people, either to the Levites, right, who don't get the first tithes, but still don't have land of their own to cultivate, so they need to live off of the good nature of the rest of the people. Uleger, liatom, vela almana, and the sort of non-citizen who lives among you, also not a landholder, or the orphans and the widows, all categories of people in need. And you recite this formula, I'm giving these things to these folks, right? Kechol mitzvotecha, as you, all the things, all those who you commanded me to give to. Asher tzivitani, that you commanded me, lo avarti, I have not strayed from it, mimitzvotecha, from your commands, velo shachachti, and I have not forgotten. So the formula makes sense. I'm giving to these folks as you commanded me makes a certain amount of sense. It makes a little less sense at the end, and the formula goes on, but at the end of the pasuk, at the end of the verse, to say, velo shachachti. If you're there with your basket of goods to give over, obviously you haven't forgotten. So what haven't you forgotten? And the famous commentator Rashi has a comment on this. He says, velo shachachti, what have I not forgotten? Obviously, it's not to give this. I have not forgotten to bless you on the occasion of setting the tithes apart. Meaning that this formula itself is a blessing, and the very act of my sharing these things, even though it's a mitzvah, even though I have to do it, is something that I bless you for. Why am I blessed? This is like a tax. This is like something I have to give from my hard-earned, my hard-grown produce. Why am I giving a blessing? But this teaches something very important about blessing. First of all, the best way to get blessing or to recognize blessing is to give a blessing. Right? It's this amazing quality of a blessing. When we first learn about blessings is when God first comes to Abraham and Sarah, and he says to them, I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. Those who bless you will be blessed, right? And the whole world of nations will bless themselves by you, basically, by your light. What an amazing set of qualities for one thing, a blessing. It's something that you could get. It's something you can give. It's something you can reflect into the world, and like a warm campfire, it's something that others can just get from you just by being close to you if you do things just right. And so here we have that on sort of a grand scale, right? Why do we bring our tithes? Because by bringing these, we recognize how blessed we are. In Judaism, that's kind of what tzedakah is all about. We call it tzedakah, justice, the sharing of what we have. But what makes it just is the recognition that we have it not by our own recognizances, but by God's. right? Or at least in part. We might have to work hard for what we have, but we wouldn't have it at all if it wasn't also for God's blessing. And when we share something, we recognize how valuable it is for ourselves. A lot of us know this. If we have someone who we love, who we care about, we, let's say, take a bite of a delicious chocolate, we say, oh, you've got to taste this. It's so good. What is that instinct to share it? It's because we feel this sense of blessing and it's overflowing from us. We need to share it with someone else. And so too, when we have this blessing of plenty, when we recognize where our earnings come from, where our good fortune and our success comes from in the world, it's I did not forget to bless her. I didn't say, ugh, I've got to give these taxes over, these second tithes, harumph. We said, I can't believe how good my yield was this year. I'm so excited to be able to give even more to the Levite and the stranger and the widow and the orphan. And so I want to conclude by sharing this idea. So what is it, right? So God says to Abraham, I will bless you. Then we are able to share that blessing when we give it away, when we reflect God's blessing into the world. That is part of what it means to be a Jewish person, is that our job is to reflect God's blessing into the world. There's a midrash from Mishnah Avot that Yitz Greenberg brings in his new theological work, The Triumph of Life. He's talking about these very subjects, and he brings a teaching of Rabbi Akiva that says, "Beloved is the human who was created in the image of God." Right? Our ability to help others, to nurture, to feed others, to give blessing in the world, material blessing and spiritual blessing, all of that is a way to sort of reflect God, to be in the image of God. And he goes on that even greater love was shown by God, and that the human is informed that he was created in the image of God, right? The very knowledge that we have this potential to give blessing in the world is an even greater act of love on God's part. Ultimately, our ability to help others, to feed others, to give to others, to be there for others with concern, right? To give blessing, to share spiritual sustenance with others, to create safe spaces for others, all of it is a way of being little less than an angel in the world, as we are taught. People are little less than angels. Not always. Sometimes we're a little more, we're from dust, and to dust we shall return. But we have this potential, and that potential is a blessing. And what a gift not only to have that potential, but to have been told that we have that potential. And so what is lo shachachti? I did not forget to bless you, and to feel blessed by you, and to reflect your blessing into the world, and that these are all connected, because I am, you are, we are B'Tselem Elohim. All of us are made in God's image. And that is this gift of God's love, as Rabbi Akiva teaches it, not only to make us in God's image, but to help us understand that we can do sacred acts, that we can spread spirit and holiness into the world. And every act of tzedakah, along with every shared blessing, every act of kindness, every act of chesed, all of that is us reflecting that blessing, just like God told Abraham. May we all feel blessed and that God's blessing the world, and may we all share that blessing as we celebrate this next beautiful Shabbat together. Shabbat Shalom.